Shifré Haran, Yud Tet. גם היה רגיל מאוד בימי קטנותו ובימי ילדותו לרוץ בכל פעם עד קבר הבעל שם טוב. Rabbeinu, when he was young, when he was a child, when he was a young man, he would run always to the kever of the Baal Shem Tov. Don't forget, Rabbi Nachman of Breslev grew up in the city of Mezibus. Mezibus is the place where the Baal Shem Tov lived and the place where the Baal Shem Tov was buried. Rabbeinu himself grew up in the house of the Baal Shem Tov. In the house of the Baal Shem Tov, in the office where he used to do his Avodat Hashem, his Avodah, his service of God. That's where Rabbeinu was born. Rabbi Nachman was born in that room and he lived in that house. And the kever was not near the house. It was we don't even visit the house when we go to Mezibush. We go to the shul maybe and to the kever. But either way, Rabbeinu himself was a young boy and he would go to the kever of the Baal Shem Tov all the time. Vaya ragil lenech sham balayla. Rabbeinu would go there in the middle of the night. ובזמן החורף, בעת שהיה קרירות גדול מאוד, היה הולך לשם בלילה. Whoever's been to the kever of the Baal Shem Tov today, in the last probably 20 years, 25 years maybe, they put up a building there on the kever. And there's a lot of tzaddikim, Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, that are buried there. Exactly, the Rabbi Bezivish, Zavuf is there, Degem Machane Ephraim is there. There's a lot of tzaddikim in that room. That's a scary room to go in. That's a electrifying room, meaning the kedusha in that room is next level. And but not so long ago, you can look up the pictures. It was just a cemetery with a few tombstones, especially with the communists and all that. And so Rabbeinu would go there in the winter, in the middle of the night. Umisham chazar ve'alach el hamikveh. And Rabbeinu would go to the mikveh after. Vaya sham mikveh chutz lamerchatz. And there was a mikveh outside of the bathhouse. Umikveh echad b'toch hamerchatz. I'll explain. No, people didn't have showers in their houses. There was one communal bathhouse. And they actually had a bathhouse a mikveh in the bathhouse. It was a hot mikveh. Hot water. And there was one outside. It seemed to be like in a shack. Just like pashut, no heating, freezing place. And Rabbeinu would go inside the cold mikveh after having been up for hours at night in the middle of the night on the kever of the Baal Shem Tov. He was already cold because he just came from being outside in the middle of the night. And of course, there's no car to bring you there with heating. You're walking there, you're going on a horse. From his house to the cemetery was far. From the cemetery to the mikveh was far. And of course, he stayed a long time at the kever. He was there for a while. He was on the kever for an extended amount of time. אף על פי כן אחר כל זה, היה הולך דווקא לטבול במקווה שהיה עומדת בחוץ. And all this he would still choose, you would think, go in the hot mikveh. He would go in the cold mikveh outside. כדי לסגף עצמו. You ever went in the Breslov Center when sometimes there was no heat? And you went in the cold mikveh? It's freezing. And you go straight into the hot shower and you have a hot room. Here, he's outside for how long? An hour, 2 hours, in the middle of the night? And he's going to go choose a mikveh, and he chooses the outside cold mikveh, and he's a boy, he's young. Rabbeinu got married at 13. And at 13 he moved. And he's still in Mezibush, that means he's before Bar Mitzvah. Kidei nisagef et atzmo. And all this to afflict himself. Because be'atzneya, balayna, all this, nobody knew about it. Rav Chaim Vital writes, the worst thing you can do when you do things like this is tell people about it. As soon as you tell people you do things like this, you lost everything. You got tumah instead of purity. So Rabbeinu did everything for these years completely out of the limelight. Nobody knew what he was doing. Actually, during the day, he would be in a room in an attic, learning and fasting all day and davening. And then once in a while, he would go outside and play with the kids hopscotch and play water, games, tag, to just show that he's a regular kid with no jacket, no hat. And that was showing that his father-in-law thought he didn't know how to learn anymore so much, that he was pretending. שמעתי מאחד שאמר ששמע מפיו בעת שעשה הנהגותינו לא היה כי אם בן 6 שנים. Rabbeinu was 6 years old when he was doing this. Anybody can understand that? 6 years old? He was 6 years old when he was doing these things. What is this neshama? What is this soul? That's why people speak about Mashiach. And we have to really be careful when we speak about what's Mashiach. Understand? We're not on the level to know what's Gedolei Ador. We're not there. Only Aaron HaKohen can know what's Mashiach, can know what's Moshe Rabbeinu. Because when Moshe Rabbeinu comes back, he's like the beggar, the blind beggar of the Sipurei Masyot. You can't tell he's a tzaddik. You're not sure if he's a rasha or he's a tzaddik. You're not even sure. You don't have any compartments in the mind to be able to place what is Moshe Rabbeinu. Rabbi Natan writes, I saw it many years ago, I would love to try to find it again, that the Geulat Mitzrayim depends on Aaron HaKohen. Because Aaron is the Rebbe. He's the Gadol Ador. Moshe Rabbeinu comes, I came to save Am Yisrael. If he goes, then there's no Geulah. Only because he gets off the seat and he gives them the seat, there's Geulah. Because all of Am Yisrael are waiting to follow Aaron HaKohen. What do you say? By the way, the opposite is also true. Why do many people not come to Uman? Because my Rav doesn't go. I'm bigger than my Rav. My Rav knows the Shas, I don't know the Shas. He doesn't go, I'm going to go. And there's something to that. Because you have to follow Yav. What do you know? You don't know who's Rabbi Nachman. If your Rav doesn't accept it, so then you know. Now that's the test. That's the test. But at Kol Panim, we're not on the level to point and say, he's Mashiach, he's Mashiach, he's Mashiach. After a few Dvar Torahs and after a few things, even a few miracles. Rabbeinu said that the Mashiach is going to make miracles. And the Hasidim are going to say, so what? My Rebbe makes miracles, it's not Mashiach. We have to wait for the Gdolim, for Eliyahu Navi. Do we want Mashiach? We're longing for Mashiach. Yes. But you see that Rabbeinu at 6 years old, where he was. At 6 years old, he was writing Ari Sefer HaMidot. At 6 years old. The Mashiach, when he's born, there's another place, I have to check it up, don't quote me on it, but I think I remember that Rabbeinu said, maybe in Siyach, that the Mashiach is going to reveal himself at 13 years old. At 13 years old, it's going to be a Mashiach. You understand what this neshama is? Now there is Gedolei Ador, there are great Rabbanim, but once you read about Gedolei Ador, you start to understand the category of Gadol Ador. Rav Ovadia is Gadol Ador? Rav Ovadia is Gadol Ador. Was he Mashiach? He was a Mashiach. But he knows the whole Torah, everything at a young age, and he doesn't stop, and he doesn't sleep, and he doesn't eat. And he's Kadosh, yes. And you have the Belzerov, Rabbi Aaron Belz. If you read about Rav Shmelki of Zvil, if you read about, even now, not long ago, tzaddikim that were not long ago, if you read about Rabbi Aaron Kotler, Rabbi Aaron Kotler, I read once, he came to a city in America, he wanted to talk in learning, he talked with the boys 24 hours of learning Torah. He didn't sleep, he didn't eat, and they were sick in bed for 1 week after. He didn't stop. These are neshamot, not on the next level. If you would see Pinchas ben Elazar, you would think it's Mashiach. If you would see one of the Nesiim, you would say it's Mashiach. Because compared to what he is and what you are, so I just want to see that the Rabbeinu who said that he's not Mashiach, but said if Mashiach would be in his time, it would be him. He said that. He said if Mashiach would be now, it would be me, but it's not the time for Mashiach. It was maybe going to be his son passed away, and then Rabbeinu said it's going to be 100 years before Mashiach. But you see anyways what the way that the tzaddik is doing already at a young age, first thing. So, just with a grain of salt, we Gdolim and tzaddikim, we run to them. We're the first one. Baba Sali, if you would see him, what's Baba Sali? He's pouring arak from the same Rab Shaile. If you read Rab Shaile, Lubavitcher Rebbe. Lubavitcher people said he was Mashiach, but him himself, he didn't say he's Mashiach. He was upset when they were singing Mashiach. I heard from Rabbi Groner myself. I was at the bringing by Rabbi Raskin, Rabbi Groner Alav Shalom, that he himself was a tzaddik. He said that once they were singing Yichi Adonai Mashiach outside the room, and he came into the Lubavitcher and said they're saying the Rebbe's Mashiach, and he said I didn't get the memo. I didn't get the.
Where do they get this strong belief from? All to today. It's not,
because
It can't be that he denied it the whole time.
Again,
He
it
made
could,
him believe, maybe
again,
also.
Or HaChaim HaKadosh could have been Mashiach. And Rosh Hashanah was supposed to be Mashiach. And then what happened? One Shavuot, he came out of his room, and instead of wearing white, he wore black, and he said there was a Jew in Spain or in Italy that did a big Avera. The world was 50-50, and now there's no Mashiach, and he passed away a few months later, on the 15th of December. That means, that means that even Rabbeinu, if there is Mashiach, could it be the download on him? Yeah, but it's a download. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe was speaking about Mashiach all the time. He's saying it's going to be now and Ad Matai, and we want Hashem Mashiach now, and it should be right away today. And anybody who was there felt like it's now Mashiach. And you read, if you would have been there, you would be with the Kippah, for sure you would be with that. Because it was, the energy was so great, and the Torah was so great, and the miracles were so great, and the Avat Yisrael was so great, and the energy, and he was spreading Torah all across the world. But the Rambam says, Mashiach has to do Kibbutz Galuyot and build the Bet HaMikdash. If he doesn't do that, he's not Mashiach. As great as he is. And it could be that if the door was worthy, some person would be a Mashiach. The Arizal was supposed to be a Mashiach. The Arizal got his Talmidim and said, okay, we're in Sfat, we're going now to Jerusalem for Shabbat. And they were going to go Kvitzat HaDerech. So a few of the Talmidim says, okay, we just have to go ask our wives. And he said, you missed it. It was ready, it was the Geonah. If you would have said yes without questioning me, we would have went now to Yerushalayim, I would have been Mashiach, and it's game over. That means that, no problem, there could be great neshamot that are here, that if Hashem decides, but we have to, Rabbeinu also said, whoever says, now it's Mashiach, it's for sure not Mashiach. Whoever says the date when Mashiach will come, for sure it's not that date when Mashiach is going to come. That means that we...
A candidate, not the date. Not the date, if we were speaking about the Yanuka, he's like, he has a good candidature, no?
I'm just, listen, Gadol Ador, Tzaddik, no problem. But Eliyahu Navi has to tell us. We can't say to Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu Navi is Mashiach. Hey, I'm choosing. I'm choosing. You're not choosing. Great. Gadol Ador, Mikdash Shamayim. I prayed with him in Yom Kippur. He's a Chidush Gadol. And would we like Mashiach to come today? We all want it now. Just learn from the past Dorot that we don't have to do those things. And there's no need and there's no mitzvah. And what happens? Well, Rabbeinu said, Rabbeinu spoke about dates. Mechashvei HaKetz. Okay? They said, Mashiach, we know, according to the Zohar, it's this day, it's this time. They said it in COVID. They said a lot of things. According to the Simanim, Rabbeinu said, whoever does that, it's for sure not Mashiach. Because Mashiach comes behesech hadat. Hesech hadat means the last thing you were expecting Mashiach, it's that Mashiach. The last moment when you weren't expecting it, the last person, it's out of nowhere, it comes, that's Mashiach. Mashiach comes at Hesech hadat. That's the first thing. Second is if you say it's now Mashiach, and Mashiach didn't come, what happens to all the people who were waiting just for that? You broke everybody. So say, Lubavitcher Rebbe is Gadol Ador Tzadik, Shifré Haran, Titkarev Elav. But don't put a ticket. Because then afterwards, you're pushing all the people away. You saw you were wrong. It doesn't exist Mashiach, and you guys are making up things. And afterwards, people don't want to believe in other Rabbanim because he was Mashiach and he's still alive and he's hiding in 770. Come on. So we don't have to do those things, and we just have to be tamim and say Tilim and wake up Chatzot and do it Bodedut and do mitzvot, and Hashem is going to give us when Mashiach says we're going to get the email. We're going to get it. We're going to know when it is. Hazak u'baruch.
Hazak u'baruch.
Mashiach